Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Hopefully the third time will be the charm with shooting this video. I'm going to be participating in a middle grade March for the first time this year. I've only been making booktube and authortube content since September 2021, so I'm still very much a stranger in this community, and I hope I'm not the only newbie participating in the event because, no one likes being the new kid at school. Everyone's been, else has been best friends since kindergarten, so let's just get down to it. This yearly, apparently, readathon is hosted by Krista at Books and Jams and Amanda at The Curly Reader on YouTube, and by Katie at Life Between Words on Instagram. And they're going to be having some chats on their respective channels throughout the month of March, I believe, on Wednesday evenings, which is really good for me because I am Shabbat observant. Don't use my computer on Friday night through Saturday nightfall, and that unfortunately means I can't participate in a lot of fun looking on YouTube booktube events taking place then. So anyway, there are 5 prompts for this challenge. The first one is middle school is worse than Meatloaf. This is by Jennifer Holm. I showed it in a previous video I did, and it's really fun. It's told entirely through stuff for example, pizza tickets, ballet tickets, instant messages online, report cards, notes to the main character, Ginny's mother, compositions she does from school, notes she does to various people, just really fun, unique, innovative way of telling a story. And if you're interested in non-traditional methods of storytelling like this, I would encourage you guys to check it out. It's a really fun, lighthearted book. And other books with more than 5 words in the title I found are from part of the Dear America series, and this is a really fun, interesting series, in particular because I love historical fiction, and I also read several Dear America books when I was taking my children's literature class, and I believe the series is currently on hiatus, but I could be wrong. But I do know they also have versions of other countries Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and I think England, maybe South Africa, and some other non-Anglophone countries. So anyway, this is one of them, Dear America, the Diary of Patsy, a Freed Girl. I Thought My Soul Would Rise and Fly, which is set in Mars Bluff, South Carolina in 1865 and a bit into 1866, and it's really cool perspective because a lot of books about the U.S. Civil War, just World War II, they end too soon after the war, when an equally compelling and sometimes even more compelling story was just beginning. And so this is the synopsis. Patsy, an orphan slave, has taught herself to read and write on the sly. After the Civil War ends and slavery is abolished, Patsy believes her master will keep his word and pay the former house slaves and provide an education for the slave children. But when Master Davis ignores his promise to establish a school, and the Freedmen's Bureau can't send a teacher, Patsy steps in to teach the students, old and young, to read and write. Patsy's diary is filled with courage, conviction, and hope as she strives toward freedom. Freedom from slavery, and freedom from the limitations placed on her by others. And this should be a really interesting book because I do absolutely love historical fiction. And this is the Dear America book I found, and this one be hopefully really personally emotional to me because I've been a huge Native American ally since I was 5 or 6. This is genuine, not just posturing for virtue signaling points, but that's a topic for another subject. The Girl Who Chased Away Sorrow, the Diary of Sarah Nita, Navajo girl, set in New Mexico beginning in 1865, and it's about the horrible tragedies and just terrible things happening to the Native Americans because of the horrible genocide carried out against their people, and they were just moved onto reservations and discriminated against and sent to boarding schools and not allowed to learn their own native languages. That I don't know if you know about the Boxes and Walls exhibit, but it came to UMass my senior year in the spring of 2002. I was almost in tears in the Native American room. That's just a really wonderful exhibit. It was basically each box and wall represented a discriminated against minority group, gays and lesbians, Native Americans, Latinos, African Americans, Jews, and there might have been a few others at that exhibit. And it was just such a powerful emotional experience, and particularly because the people in each room, they were members of that minority group, but they were talking to you, the people coming through, as if you were in that minority group, and just shouting at you and saying horrible things and talking about ugly things in the history. I was practically crying in that room. It was just such a powerful emotional experience. And number 2 prompt, a book featuring an orphan main character. This is called Orphan Train Children, Aggie's Home by Joan Lowery Nixon. And, I don't know if you know about them. Orphan trains, they were in the 19th century and possibly into the very early 20th century as well. I believe they were like all like sent west from the east. These like orphan children were sent out there to be adopted and hopefully get a better life. This was still when orphanages were a thing, and like we didn't really have foster care. It begins in July 1866, and hopefully this will be a really good, interesting read. Oh, sorry, here's the synopsis. Aggie Mae Vaughn is 12 years old in 1866, and she lives in the asylum for homeless waifs in New York City. Aggie hates being called a waif almost as much as she hates the asylum, where she's always in trouble. Now she's going west on the orphan train, and she doesn't know what to expect. What is it like to live in a real home? Will she be treated like a daughter or like a worker? Most of all, will anyone want her? I'm sorry if you hear some whirring in the background. That's just my computer acting up. It's a bit of an older computer, sorry. And number 3, a contemporary book. And this all, and by the way, you can, the prompts, some of them can overlap. Some of the books I got all from the library overlap with one another, but I'm choosing to bring more of a challenge and do separate books, in some cases multiple books for each prompt. And as I think I mentioned, a contemporary book. This is called Red, White, and Whole by Rajani LaRocca. It's a novel in verse, which is like an art form, a subgenre I really grew to like when I was taking my YA literature class at UAlbany. I didn't really like most of the books we had to read, or I chose to read in that class, but I really did like the novels in verse, and I also read several other novels in verse when I was taking my children's literature class. Reha feels torn between two worlds: school, which she's the only Indian American student, and home, with her family and their community. But Reha's parents don't understand. She feels disconnected from her mother, or Amma, although their names are linked. Reha means star, and Punan means moon. They are a universe apart. Then Reha finds out that her Amma is sick, really sick. Reha, who dreams of becoming a doctor, even though the sight of blood makes her woozy, is determined to make her Amma well. She becomes fixated on red and white blood cells, facing her fear, and being the daughter her parents want her to be, because she has no idea how she can go on if the moon is missing from her sky. I'm also very interested in Indian culture, language, history, religion. If you guys want to check it out, it's an adult book, but maybe like in December, I think I did a review of The Play of God by Devivana Mali about the life of Krishna. Unfortunately, nobody commented on it for whatever reason. My book review videos don't really get a lot of views. Some of them don't even get any comments, but whatever. Maybe they really do suck that much, and I'm not having enough perspective. And number 4, a book set in Asia, or featuring an Asian main character. This is a reread for me. I also read it when I was doing my children's literature class. Yoko Kawashima Watkins, So Far from the Bamboo Grove. And she also did a sequel, which I also read on my brother, my sister, and I. And this, a lot of people have like challenged or banned this books after the year because Yoko had the absolute audacity to be, an 11-year-old occupier, because she, God forbid, she was born into a wealthy Japanese family living in Korea. I mean, that just makes me like horrible and beneath contempt, this is why I just do not like woke ideology. Like, these people are just so loony. But anyway, it's like a really interesting book. Towards the end of World War II, Yoko, her mother, and her older sister Ko have to go back into Japan after living comfortably in Korea for so long. And Yoko's father was also taken prisoner of war. I believe he was in a Soviet prison camp, but maybe the Manchurians were. I'm so sorry, but it's been a long time since I read this book. But anyway, they're like on their own. They have to get back into Japan without being killed or discovered or taken prisoner, particularly because the Koreans have their country back and they're like out for blood. And Yoko's older brother Hideo is like separated from them. He's unable to get from his school or the military training or whatever to his family, and so he takes his own route back home and has his own adventures. You see his point of view throughout the book a few times, and like eventually he's taken in when he's unconscious in the snow by a loving Korean family, the Lees, and they grow to regard him like as their son, and they absolutely love him. And that shows Japanese and Koreans really could be friends, despite what people said. Oh, you must be only with like Koreans if you're Korean, or only with Japanese if you're Japanese. God forbid the social classes mix. That's just too horrible and beyond the pale. But hopefully I'm looking forward to reading this book again. And I do love Japanese history, culture, and religion. I've been a Nipponophile since I was 14 years old in 1994. And number 5 prompt, a book older than you are. This was published in 1936. It's called Rollerskates by Ruth Soy. I don't think I'd ever heard of this book or read it before. And it's like set in like the New York City of the past, when normal people could still afford to live there. That wasn't just like all professional millionaires and like upper middle class gentrifying hipsters. And the houses, were actually comfortable, like for families to live in for a long time, not just, like 150 square foot like apartments that are, or even apartments that are like as big as a prison cell. And this is the synopsis. Lucinda's year in New York City began when her family went to Europe, left her with Miss Peters, not, thank heaven, with Aunt Emily and her four docile, ladylike daughters. Miss Peters understood that a girl of 10 wanted to roller skate to school, stop and chat with patrolman McGonagall, and make friends with Mr. Gilligan, the cabbie, even play with Tony, whose father kept a fruit stand down the street. Rollerskates is a delightful story of old New York, about a tomboy who could not help being a lady at the same time. Sounds like the character I could really relate to, because I've been rather tomboyish throughout my life. As you can see, I do like some like stereotypically feminine things, like long hair and jewelry, and just certain clothes and things like that. And all the nail polish, which I grew to start doing again in the last year or so. But that's the kind of character I like. Not entirely like a tomboy, not entirely stereotypical girly girl, but just a blend of the two. Even if she does lean more towards being tomboyish, and hopefully that'll be a really fun story. And by the way, I do love historical fiction. And there's also a group read, Pony by R.J. Palacio, or maybe it's pronounced Palacio, and it looks like this is going to be a horse story, and I absolutely love horses. I'm a Sagittarius. I think that's why I like them so much, because our sign is the centaur, the half human, half horse. And from the size of this book, it looks like it might straddle the fence between upper middle grade and lower YA, which is a really rich ground. And unfortunately, a lot of agents and editors, like doing the traditional publishing thing, and writers, they feel, oh, you can't have a character who's like 13 or 14 or sometimes even like 12, because like people like middle grade has to be only younger kids, and then you can't write about anyone that old. So that's kind of like fills a gap. And I do have blog posts I've written about in the past, and maybe I can just address that a bit more in some future videos, like like age-based categories, and how you straddle the fence between lower YA and upper middle grade. And so for my writing this month, I'm going to be focusing on my April blogging from A to Z April blog posts. I have two blogs. One is a names blog, and the other is about like history. I'm writing books like silent film and classic rock and pop. I'm keeping my themes a secret until the big reveal on March 7th, but that's going to be taking up most of my time this month of March for my writing activities. I'm writing, researching, I'm gathering images and editing those posts. I really can't wait to reveal my theme. It's going to be like very special and important this year, although I like to think they're special and important every year. And I'm also going to be continuing to work on my work in progress, an alternative history about Dante and Beatrice. I got the idea in 2004, and but I only began starting to write it in 2021. It took that long to get more than a vague general idea, and I've had some setbacks and just difficulties writing this book, because it's such a project of my heart. But that's I've discussed that more in other topics. And I'll also be finally much belatedly reviewing the final proof of the book formerly known as The Very Next. It was published, it's an ebook now, Movements in the Symphony of 1939. I don't know why I took so long to finally get around to reviewing the final proof. I only had like a handful of more things to look over to make sure it was perfect. I had like a few last minute corrections I added in, but I figure maybe, and it's been so long since I was looking at it, like last August, I think. So like I have some more fresh eyes now, and it only take a few days to work through. I think it was like 75,000 words or so, if I remember correctly. So it won't take that long to read through, and then I will approve it for paperback production. And then all my books will be available in print. I have some in hardcover and some are in paperback, and that's basically what my focus for reading and writing this month will be. And if I can, I will get to a few other things. I know I did begin reading Frankenstein. It's a reread, but I unfortunately had to DNF it a lot of years ago, not because I wasn't enjoying it, because there just wasn't enough time with everything I had to read for school and such. I began this for Feb Regency last month, very late in the month, so I didn't finish it in time, but I am really, really enjoying it and liking it, and I should be having a future video discussing that in more detail, and so look forward to that. And if you are interested in my content, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. I mostly do very serious heavy videos about like serious, intense books. And I also do a lot of Dantean content about Dante and the Divine Comedy, and I also do historical fiction and classic world literature, mostly like old books or books that are historical, and sometimes I'll do on other subjects, like for example maybe like silent film or classic rock and pop, or some like story time videos or historical subjects. But my main focus is booktube and authortube. And so like thank you very much if you have watched all the way to the end. Thank you very, very much. I'm working hard on building a bigger subscriber base and like triggering the algorithm more, so my videos are shown to more people and I get longer watch time. So thank you guys again very much for watching, and see you guys very soon. Hopefully we can be friends. Thanks. Bye.